Unprecedented and unbelievable. These are the words being used to describe Sony's decision to pull the plug on their movie The Interview after a hack attack took a threatening turn.
When the threat moved from the virtual world to the physical world, that's when the dominoes started to fall.
Is it all over for The Interview? The controversial comedy starring Seth Rogen and James Franco will not be released on Christmas, and it may never see the light of day. Sony Pictures reportedly has no plans for DVD or video-on-demand releases. The shocking move comes after theater chains across North America, including Cineplex in Canada, pulled the flick from their lineup. That after anonymous hackers calling themselves Guardians of Peace made terrorist threats against people planning to go see The Interview, invoking 9/11 references. In a statement, Sony Pictures says, "We respect and understand our partner's decision and of course completely share their paramount interest in the safety of employees and theatergoers." The studio also said they've been the victim of an unprecedented criminal assault, referring of course to the massive hacking scandal that's taken place over Sony Pictures. The New York Times reports U.S. intelligence officials have linked the cyber attack to the North Korean government. All of this apparently in retaliation for The Interview. Sony says, "We are deeply saddened at this brazen effort to suppress the distribution of a movie. We stand by our filmmakers and their right to free expression and are extremely disappointed by this outcome." They're not the only ones. Celebrities took to social media to vent their anger. Rob Lowe tweeted, "Wow, everyone caved. The hackers won. An utter and complete victory for them." Zach Braff shared that canceling The Interview seems like a pretty horrible precedent to set. Judd Apatow came out strongly saying, "I think it's disgraceful that these theaters are not showing The Interview. Will they pull any movie that gets an anonymous threat now?" Even President Obama chimed in.
If we see something that we think is serious and credible, then we'll alert the public. But for now, my recommendation would be that people go to the movies.
Famous Hollywood producer Aaron Sorkin is laying the blame at the feet of the media. He says the wishes of the terrorists were fulfilled in part by easily distracted members of the American press who chose gossip over a story with immeasurable consequences for the public. Sorkin is referring to the leaking of internal and often embarrassing emails between top Sony execs, but with the hackers now threatening violence, Franco, who along with Rogen filmed The Interview in Vancouver, is reportedly beefing up his security detail. Meanwhile, New Regency has shelved a new Steve Carell-anchored thriller with a North Korea-centric plot. Carell shared his thoughts on the company self-censoring, tweeting, "Sad day for creative expression."
And Entertainment City will continue to follow this story. But for now, the Backstreet Boys are sharing their full story in a new documentary. Here's your first look.
Oh, they're back all right. The new trailer for Backstreet Boys, Show 'Em What You're Made Of, is a blast from the past as we see the boys at the height of their stardom in the late 90s. But then the very valid question,
what do you do when you're a full-grown man in a boy band?
that's what the guys are trying to answer in the new doc that hits theaters in the new year. Cameron Diaz is testing out her singing chops as a modernized version of the villainous Miss Hannigan in the remake of Annie. She opens up to Hello Canada about facing her fears to take on the role.
She talks to us about what it was like being in her very first musical. Quite daunting for her, she admitted. She also talks about growing older in Hollywood and speaks out against sort of having cosmetic surgery. It's very important that stars like Cameron stand up and be heard and talk about this kind of thing.
Read all about it in this week's issue of Hello Canada on newsstands and your Next Issue app now.
And remember, you can find all the latest entertainment headlines on Twitter at NCity.
Entertainment City is brought to you by Vanilla MasterCard and Vanilla Visa prepaid cards. One card, a million options.